Actually, thinking about it more, that guy who thought that I was laughing at him, okay, it's not the reality because that's not what I was doing. But I feel like there might actually be some reality to it because I have said in previous videos that, I hate this world and I think so many people are just misled and, I hate them. And it would be funny to watch crazy people go crazy because it would be like watching someone drunk just, I don't know, do really stupid things. And maybe him saying that, you think you are just laughing at me is because he's making a prophecy that in the future, God is going to look at the stuff that he does and laugh at it. I think it's a sign that God doesn't like him. My higher self does not like him. But yeah, see, so even though there was only one reality, the one reality was that we were sitting in a jacuzzi and I was talking to him and he thought I was laughing at him when I definitely wasn't. I was trying to predict the future and I thought he was going to go crazy. Now was that was the reality that I was concerned, and my reality was just I was thinking of the future and I thought he'd go crazy, but his reality thought that I was laughing at him, which it came out of nowhere. I felt, and I feel like he has insecurities in himself. That's probably the main reason why he said it, because he thinks that people would laugh at his thoughts. Maybe he's had this conversation with other people, and other people have laughed at him, and he was thinking back to memories of that. But I feel like he was also making prophecies, perhaps, of maybe what my higher self might start doing when he turns against me and refuses to believe that I'm Christ, believes that Christ, God is inside everyone, and technically, I said at the end of that video that God does live inside of everyone. I mean, that doesn't mean that everyone's God. That there's a big difference. God living inside everyone just is just like her soul or personality or characteristics. I think that the Lion King says that your father lives inside you, and that doesn't mean that your actual father lives inside of you. It just means that there's some things that your parents have passed down to you through your DNA, and technically it's not them, but there is similarities, and your soul as well. I feel like the Matrix would have chosen your soul to be in this because of the similarity in soul. And your parents can change and go in one direction, you can change and go into another, and you might find that your parents in your next life are very, very different. But yeah, there is only one reality, but at the same time, because the time is like a timeline, reality changes over time, and different cultures are formed, and reality is very different in somewhere like India versus Europe. But I feel like that's mostly because India hasn't developed and changed as much as England has. And communism, I don't really know that much about it, but it's a different way of life. It's a different, so but at the same time, we're all in the same reality, and it's really important. If you don't want to go mad, it's very important to try and stick to reality. If you think someone is laughing at you, you need to find out, are they actually, or is this just in your imagination? Why have you thought this way? If you thought this way, if you think this because people in your past, sometimes I jump to conclusions, and I think that people just aren't going to accept me, aren't going to believe me, aren't going to, and sometimes I can jump into that mindset just because I've had so much abuse from people who don't believe me, who don't say. And I didn't tell this guy this other one, the one that was Muslim, that I was God, because I knew that he would reject it. Now, technically, the reality was that I didn't tell him. I mean, I think he would have rejected it if I would have told him. But yeah, it is important that there is a reality that you create in your head versus a reality that's actually the truth. And if you don't actually live that reality, then you will never know the truth. And I feel like that is how it is with God as well. Like, my higher self wants to know, who's on her side, but in reality, which is this world that we're living in, God, my higher self, can only know who's on her side by me going onto a show, me saying it, and for people to actually express their opinions or think it. I feel like she can read minds. There's so much evidence that I've seen that my higher self can actually read people's minds. So thinking it, I don't know how, but she can enter into people's minds, think it, and it doesn't matter what language you're in. I think she speaks all sorts of languages. I have this weird dyslexia that I can't seem to work out. Why do I have it? Aaliyah didn't have it, so obviously it's something to do with me, not it's something to do with my brain or my makeup, or and I feel like this could be my dyslexia, could be because my higher self knows all sorts of languages. My conscious self doesn't. So my conscious self is sticking to my memory, and my memory is that of English and only English. But maybe my consciousness knows all of the languages, including ancient languages, and then therefore I keep using the wrong kind of wordings or wrong terminology or wrong pronouns, or I keep doing this just because maybe spiritual confusion. That's what I think. And also sometimes I say things the wrong way. Like I say Lily, and I don't know. I go backward. I go in the wrong. Instead of starting from Darla, I start from Lily, and so um, sometimes I do things. I don't know. That's part of the dyslexia, and I think it's part of some sort of spiritual confusion that I'm in. We also had another conversation with, because I said, that the conversation that we had where he was talking about, how he wants to serve God versus me telling that this woman is God, and people are she's going to be tested, and people are going to see it. Oh, we don't believe that. We're not going to believe in that. So it was almost like he was saying that on one hand saying that he's going to support God, but but the reality is, that wants to play. God wants it to play out so that we can actually make it happen and actually see who is going to agree and who is going to not agree with me. And what happens to the people that disagree, though, that's not up to me. That's up to the people on earth. If Muslims really do want to serve God, um, unfortunately, everything that I've gone through has been suffering. Hey, I hate my life. I just want to die. I want to die so much. And if people are made in my image, I feel like I've had such an awful life because my higher self is trying to say that you represent all the people on earth, and I want a lot of people to die, hence 50% of the time you're going to want to die. I don't want to die all the time. Sometimes I can switch and just be like talking about all the, when I talk about films and and festivals, and, there's so many things that I can talk about things that reasons to live, and children as well. I keep seeing babies on Instagram videos as well. There's a cute little kid, and then seeing babies is like, oh, I want to stay. I want to have. I like seeing babies and stuff. So I feel like there is two sides. There's this side that just wants to die and just give up and just not be here and like so badly wanting it. And then there's this other side that's oh no, I want to stay. Okay, 2, 3, let's have 3 kids. And then it's like, oh no, maybe we should be a donor, and then I can have like a whole army of kids. Like just give my egg out every month or something. I don't know. So there's a massive range of how I feel, and I guess it is a type of bipolar. Sometimes you're really low and sometimes you're really high. But if I am supposed to be like the template of the average human, whether that be a good or bad thing, it's both. It's a good and a bad thing, and I feel like my need to die along because of my horrible life, is an example of my higher self wanting a lot of people to die. And I don't want to. I don't care about what you ate yesterday. I don't care about what you did. I don't even care about what you did yesterday. I care. Well, I do. I mean, I'm. People are doing things about me behind my back, and I really want to know what people are doing. What are you doing? Where? Whose side are you working on? These are questions that I want to know. There's a big, long. What do you think of me? What do you think of my ability? What do you think of my rules? And or I don't really like division, and wearing religious clothing actually just shows that divide. It doesn't show your loyalty to me. I prefer clothes that are colourful and I like showing my hair. Okay, sometimes it's messy, but um, you know, and if you don't know this, then you don't know God, and if you don't know God, how can you serve God? So you know, there's a lot of things that I want to know that people are doing. Why have they done the songs? Why are they doing it as well? But yeah, that doesn't mean that I want to know about every person. There's a lot of people in the film industry doing all sorts of films, and watched The Blue Beetle yesterday. I did not like that film at all. It was just all it was. It was some boy who had no ability to be a superhero becoming a superhero, getting controlled by his outfit, and then just messing up the place. He's from a poor background, so obviously he knows the value, the importance of money, and yet all he did really was destroy people's cars and property, and then he got himself kidnapped and tortured. But yeah, it was, and then they saved him, but I couldn't understand why they saved him, and the bad guy was even worse, and just I don't know, I didn't agree with it at all. But whatever, it's fun, it's entertainment, but yeah, why did you do that? I just don't know. But then I'm sure it was a good film. A lot of money would have gone into it. How can you put so much money into a film and for it to be so awful? I don't know. I did walk out of the film. I was very disappointed. I was just like, I don't want to support this superhero. Seriously, if I give someone superhero powers, I would want them to do good things with it. I wouldn't want them to just mess up people's property. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. Um, yeah, there is a lot of things that I want to know that people are doing. About me though, that film wasn't about me, and I don't think it had much point to it, but whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of things that people are doing about me behind my back, and I want to know what they're doing. So there is truth to it. But okay, let's go on to the other conversation. There was another conversation that we had, which was actually about textbooks, because he was saying how science changes, but the Quran never changes. The Quran never changes, but science always changes. And I'm just like, yeah, science changes because people study more, they have more information, they get closer to truth. You know, a textbook from nowadays is going to be very different from a textbook back in the 1970s. Why? Because they didn't have the truth. And he was trying to use that as evidence that's why you should stick with the Quran. But I would say that's actually evidence why you shouldn't stick with the Quran, because back in the Quran days, they had even less truth. That would be like reading a textbook from, you know, thousands of years ago. Okay, they might have got something right about the gestation period, but if you look at a biology book, you will find out so much more information, and things about space as well. There are things about black holes that you can't possibly know, and yet sometimes they do. Or how to split an atom. I mean, technically, one would probably say that you can't possibly know how to split an atom. I don't know why you would want to split an atom. That's I don't understand why you'd want to split an atom. I mean, come on, the neutron and the proton love each other. Why do you want to separate them? Don't know why you'd want to do it. To me, it just sounds like a really big rattle toy. That the hydroscope, you spent so long building this big chain, and I could just imagine like a big baby just going, "Mommy, look, I made a rattle." And be like, "Oh, whatever." Why would you want to split an atom? I don't know, but you did it. I think I don't even know if I don't even trust any of the resorts, but according to something, you did it. But yeah, just because I don't know, just because they've done something or predicted something, there's prophecies inside The Simpsons. This is another thing I should have said to him. There's prophecies inside The Simpsons. Just because there's prophecies inside that come true inside The Simpsons, that doesn't mean we should worship it. And there might be prophecies inside the Quran, but that doesn't mean anything. I think that was the point where I was starting to get a little bit angry, so just started talking about my belief, and I was talking about the name, that there's this evidence inside the name. He just denied all of it. Just like, oh no, that's not the name. Allah is the name. Just didn't want to know any evidence or anything. And but yeah, it is truth that science books change and evolve, just like the Quran. It might have been mildly impressive a long time ago, but it, like everything else, evolves and changes, and you can't just say because it's the same book. It's like saying that the Quran is the one and only truth is like saying that, okay, science is different now from what it was back in the 70s, but we're going to just take one specific book from the 1970s and say that this is the truth, this is the only truth, and then we can compare it to books of today and be like, wow, look, they predicted things, because look, that is the same as that, and oh, that is the same as that, and okay, this is all different, but that this is wrong. We have to stick to this because they've made some prophecies according to science. This is an atom, and look, in this modern book it also says that this is an atom. Wow, it made a prophecy. I mean, isn't that exactly what that is? I mean, he said that the Quran was making prophecies because it said something about the gestation period. I'm pretty sure that they could have found this. And there's a lot of things in the past that people are shocked. We couldn't have possibly known. Yeah, he said that you couldn't have possibly known that the planets revolve around the sun in the Quran age. Uh, I'm sure you could have done. I'm sure they had astrology back then, or I'm sure people were studying the stars and looking, noticing. I mean, or maybe they did just have a vision and saw, planets rolling around the sun and was like, yay! And then look, they made a prophecy. There's prophecies inside the Simpsons, and we don't who worships the Simpsons. I'm sure there's probably some people who worship the Simpsons actually, but anyway.